Hello everyone, welcome back to Newearth.land, where we are going to be slaying the beast. We're going to be slaying the multi-headed beast, the Hydra, the Leviathan, right? This diagram, right? The American Empire and its media, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg meetings, okay? The Club of Rome, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These are the organizations that are standing above the public domain, really, where we see people like Eric Schmidt, we see people like Jeff Bezos, Google, YouTube, for example, Facebook. These are owned by Alphabet. So we've got to sort of put our heads above the parapet and see really what's taking place, which is, unfortunately, this multi-headed beast that has a centralized core of these organizations that are at the top of this diagram. And what's the name of the game? The name of the game is surveillance capitalism. The name of the game is to create that through global communism, right? And we've unfortunately been conditioned to think that communism is cool because of a knee-jerk reaction in a polarized sort of way of looking at the woes of capitalism. Of course, there are many. But that doesn't mean that we want to sort of completely get thrown to the other end of the spectrum and fall into the loving arms of the state, right? Because that's never worked out too well, right? If you just think of Mao, Stalin, Genghis Khan, any sort of centralization. Like, large governments don't serve their people, right? There is no precedent for this. Even in England, right, small country as it is, the Northerners know that they're not really getting much money pumped into projects up there as they are in the sort of the vested interests down here in the south, in London. So vanity projects, black projects, like all of these sort of psychopathic projects, we are ultimately funding. And so the solution lies in ultimately realizing that we are the ones that are propping this system up. Without us, it can't operate, right? So it's just like if cinema keeps putting out shit films, if you stop going, they'll stop putting out shit films because they won't have the money to do it because they get all the money from us. So we need to understand that we need to create a totally new system, right? Otherwise, we're going to live in a world of surveillance capitalism, right? We're going to live in a world where social crediting systems control whether we do or don't participate in society. Just like in China already, right? If you want to get on a train, that's fine. But if you speak out, if you go to a protest, at which point surveillance technology is going to flag you as being in the wrong place at the wrong time and you're a dissident of the state and now you can't go on a train, now you can't get on an aeroplane, so on and so forth. And, we're going to see this actually unfold in the West if we're not careful. And what they've done is they have, unfortunately, through time, slowly exposed us to these technologies and to these things through the Hegelian dialectic, saying that we need this, the Snoopers Charter and all these type of things, how the Counter-Terrorist Act. They keep manipulating the problem so that they can step in and have the solution, which is ultimately technologically based and to do with mass censorship in terms of privacy, but also protection, right? It's always about protection. They've got to protect you against the threat of whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. As long as there's a perceived threat, they can step in with the solution. This is what they're doing in all aspects of society. And so we can continue to live in a world where this is normalized, and as Klaus Schwab says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And they're so self-assured and convinced of their own convictions that this will become the reality, that they are willing to make statements like that because they know that they've got us in our pocket, right? In terms of consciousness. They are operating from a higher level of consciousness because I suggest that they are actually connected to a higher intelligence, but we can talk about that in other videos. And so they're using that to spoon feed us technologies and then to bring about this loving sort of condition of it's almost like exactly how that they depict in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where it's the things that we love will actually be our own downfall. So the things that we love on a more base level, like these technologies and gaming and just, on the internet and our enslavement ultimately, where we go to work and everyone wants to be able to be connected through technology and stuff. But we need to have balance when this comes to the forefront of our minds, right? We need to understand that if we get too consumed by technology, where does that leave us? It leaves us in a technological sub-reality that they will control. They will be the archons and they will play God, which is what they're already doing. But they are so convinced that we'll be happy with this. And, people have said to me before, what does it matter? You're going to be happy. It's like, yeah, you're going to be happy, but you're going to be owned. You're going to be a kept pet, right? You're going to be socially engineered to be idiotic enough to accept a lifetime sentence of indentured servitude. And so, if you love the idea of, actually devolving into an animal, your base instincts, but you'll be happy, just like dogs are, then that's up to you. But human beings are so much more than we've been led to believe. So do you want to live in that world, or do you want to live in a world that we can co-create together, which could be based on true freedom, abundance, and well-being for all? I'd say surely we all want to experience self-actualization. We all want to live our lives the way that we truly want to. We want to be in tune and in harmony and balance with nature. And we can only do that with true freedom in place. So the 3 steps that I've got for this video that we can do are outlined on the website. Connect, share, support. You need to connect ourselves to a social model that will start to dissolve the power structures that we're currently faced with. So if you think of a sort of global map at the moment, and the Western bloc, if you like, and let's just colour that red, because it's sort of principally the colour of communism, under the guise of love, benevolence, and let's come togetherness, right? They are hijacking all of this sort of like heart space and this airy-fairy notion that if we come together, that it's going to be great. But it depends on who you're coming together for. If you come together for psychopaths, you're going to live in a psychopathic society. But if you come together for some basic principles, which is such as like balancing socialism with capitalism, through these autonomous architectural projects that I've designed, and you can check out at Newearth.land, we can start to live autonomously in the sense that shelter, energy, food and water can be fulfilled from the comfort of our own homes, right? All of these things that we absolutely fundamentally need for our existence can be provided from our homes. And as soon as we've done that, like we are truly free to live our lives the way that we truly want to. Nothing can be controlled. All of these like GMOs and all this stuff that's being sprayed in our food, right, by agrochemical corporations like Monsanto. Why is that happening? Well, it's happening because they have to preserve, or they feel like they need to preserve the nutrients or whatever. Like the rationale, this is coming from the other side of the planet, and then it's coming to my local area. None of that needs to happen, right? All of this can be fulfilled from our own homes, like I say. So let's join a movement that would ultimately crowdfund land and crowdfund the construction of these democratic co-housing environments that freely provide shelter, energy, food and water as basic human rights. This foundation of freedom is absolutely imperative if we're going to start breaking away at this communist structure, right, that I've shown you earlier on, the centralization of government. This is absolutely psychopathic, the agenda they've got in store for us. So we need to break free from this, and only when we have true freedom we will be able to raise in human consciousness to even see that this is the Agenda 2030, the Millennium Project, Agenda 21, however you might know of it as. But this is absolutely in place, this is happening, and only when we're truly free can we actually start to remedy a lot of the problems that this sort of condition will give rise to, namely poverty, right, and grave inequality as a result. So, there's simply 3 steps, and we can only do this together. So if you are fed up with the way things are, and, we're all, interested in getting the information and consuming all the data, finding out what's going on in the world, but if we don't actually act on what's taking place, and we know to be taking place, then we're not going to go anywhere too fast, right? So connect is the first step, let's come together. And number 2 is to share, try and incentivize other people to join a movement that is truly proactive, but also tangible and realistic. I don't know if you're familiar with Jacques Fresco and the Venus Project. That is great, but I feel like it's a macroscopic, huge master plan, right? We need to start from a small scale and see that this works as proof of concept, and then we need to roll that out through society, right? And where we start this can be put to vote, as I've suggested on the website. And so once we've done this, we can start building these projects and start living in these environments, and everyone will see that this is clearly the way forward. There's no reason for us to remain the only species that charge ourselves for existence. What's the point of that? We're on a little rock in space, remember, let's just get on with creating true freedom in the world. So if that sounds like a good idea to you, please do subscribe, drop your comments below. If you're over on Odyssey, then do drop a donation, help me to boost this content so I can reach more people. And I feel like this could ultimately be a really well-balanced solution between socialism and capitalism, foundation of socialism upon which we can have a cryptocurrency-based model, right? As Buckminster Fuller said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So we need to become proactive, right? This is ultimately what we need to do at this time. So please, if that's interesting to you, do come together. And I'll see you in the next video where we're talking about a variety of different things. But really, the common thread is that I'm trying to get these projects done so that we can start to experience true freedom in the world. So yeah, thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.